Good morning, Earth citizens. Well, it's morning here, the end of the morning, and we'll be accessing Budapest. It's in the evening there, and it's earlier in Australia and Hawaii, and wherever you are, I'm saying good morning, Earth citizens, and welcome to this online gathering. We've been podcasting here for really a number of years now, and it's finally dawned on us just recently that who you are and who we are is Earth citizens, and that this is an opportunity for us to gather together, to join our hearts and minds as aspects, voices, thoughts, art of Earth herself. So to begin today, in that vein, I'm linking you with Judith Yost, who will sing us into this moment.
Oh, hi everybody. So good to be with you again. And I'm just going to sing a little intro song. Hey yana ho yana hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana hey yan yan. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. Hey yana ho yana hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana hey yan yan. Her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take, her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take. Hey yana ho yana hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana hey yan yan. The earth is our mother. Aho.
Aho, Judith, and thank you so much. And that really links us with the theme of the day, that the earth as our mother is calling all of us to a bridge that takes us across troubled water, the troubled water of the chaos that we'll be exploring from time to time today, and taking us across to that experience and that linkage, that sense of being relatives and related to each other, that sense of belonging that results in our feeling as if, hey, our primary identity is as Earth citizens. So let's begin our time today by traveling over to Budapest and joining in with Georgie Szabo, scholar in residence from the Sorbonne in Paris, France, and as a part of Ubiquity University. Here we go with Georgie.
I just want to begin by allowing the larger circle to experience the deep admiration and respect I have for you and our time that we spent together in so many different ways, but all online.
Yes, I know. This is crazy, isn't it? It's just so crazy that we have been working together so closely and so well and so seamlessly, and we just never met in person. One day, I keep hoping, one day it will happen.
Yeah, and our theme today is Bridge Over Troubled Water. And you and I have really walked across some bridges over troubled water. So maybe that's a good place to start. What experiences come to you that our world has in terms of troubled water that we could talk about for a moment. Yeah, what do you see? What, just yesterday, the bridge in Italy collapsed.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was really shocking, and I fear for those people and for their loved ones and the community of Italy and Europe and globally. And I think that there is more and more compassion is taking place globally, and I think that how you no longer can hide these incompetencies of people and they not care for one another. It's the sole focus of making money and nothing else is gaining more cadence, but at the same time is gaining more the other side, where people are realizing that is really not what takes us to the future for a more compassionate and better world. So
Yes.
it is awful, and I really see that both of these parts are stronger. I mean, the parts what I see, I can really just talk about the two sides, the shadow side and the light side. Like the shadow side of really the more aggression and more fear and more control that is getting stronger and stronger. And the other side, those people I haven't met or maybe haven't seen and seeing on the news and meeting people on the street, they are kinder as well. So I think that both of these light and shadow are getting stronger, and I think there is the collision is taking place, and we are coming almost like a continuous tipping point. It's not just like one instance where this breaking point happens. It is like a continuum, and that's what I see, that it's almost like escalating, and I'm wondering that what will be or will ever be that point in time where humankind will make a collective choice of going to break down or break through direction.
Yeah, I like that phrase. We're breaking down, we're breaking through, and it's all happening faster and faster. Yeah, the bridge itself that collapsed is something of a way for you and me to talk for just a moment, because as I understand, the very strong and powerful weather systems were at work during the collapse of the bridge. And also, I read a brief report from one of the engineers who said that from the beginning they have questioned the design of the bridge, that maybe the mathematics were off just a bit. And it reminded me of the bridge of Western civilization, that something fundamentally is askew with the design of the bridge.
Oh, absolutely. I love that thought process of yours. I think that we need to look at the fundamentals, and the fundamentals really are, or rather is, a correct worldview, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the worldview what have been, and more to the point of the Western Hemisphere societies are representing, is based on a mechanical worldview, that we almost like machines. But how could we be? We're not like robots. We have emotions, we have intention, we have feelings. So I think that divide definitely is coming to a greater and greater discussion, that there is something wrong with the worldview by which we have been conducting our lives, and not just a generation of mine and yours, but even going back to a couple of 100 years, if not longer. And I can see that why people who are disillusioned with such worldview are turning to those philosophies or religions of Asia, whereby they have been living according to a different worldview. Although I must say that some of those countries in Asia, they are experiencing the materialistic way of living. And interesting that how nature is rebelling against such thing, to see that how, for example, in China, you see the mudslides and even earthquakes. Mother Earth is actually talking to us that way, saying that, no, you are hurting me. But humankind is not just hurting Earth, humankind is hurting each other. And I must say that I had an amazing experience just a few months ago when I visited a near Shangri-La country by the name of Bhutan. I always have been drawn to Asia, and in my short little life, I'm still living though, thank goodness, I visited 60 countries, and mostly because I'm very curious. I'm curious how people live. I'm curious about cultures and all that involves, really. And my life, my deeper calling took me to Bhutan to celebrate my 50th birthday. And when I entered that country, I really found myself in almost some heavenly organized society. And I have experienced how a small country, they only have 700,000 inhabitants, Bhutanese. They really live by Buddhism, and they understand the interconnected nature of the world. The whole country is 80% nature, and they preserve it. They respect it. They love it. You don't see trash on the street. You don't see homeless people. You see smiling people and compassionate people. I didn't feel when I entered the country that I was some kind of like outsider. Instantaneously, I felt that I was taken in as an integral part of society. A society where government and Buddhism work and progress hand in hand. And I really wanted to stay there forever. I thought that this is almost like a prototype of a truly sustainable community.
Right. And so in some ways you can say that you grew up in Europe and in Budapest, and then were educated with your PhD at the Sorbonne, and kind of the one of the focal points of Western civilization.
Absolutely.
And yet the bridge provided by your culture is crumbling. And so you find yourself going east to find another bridge.
Yes.
And you end up in this little town, little country of Bhutan, and you feel welcomed. And there's a Buddhism there, but it's a kind of Buddhism that is deeply connected with the natural order.
True, absolutely.
So this becomes a bridge. And the essence of it is you feel immediately that you belong.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I was questioning for a very long time that why on earth I was born in Hungary, because when I really don't feel Hungarian, I feel and I am a recycled stardust with some Hungarian culture. I only lived here 20 years and spent most of my life abroad, experiencing different cultures and continents and nations. And indeed, I think having been brought up in a communist country, it gave me a sort of tabula rasa that I didn't really have to believe in any form of worldview. Although my father worked for the government like most people, but he didn't oppress it on me. So in a sense, I was led to believe in whatever I wanted to. I had to almost leave Hungary in order to realize that what are the different worldviews. I went to Israel, I went to Asia, I went to America, and all sorts of different countries. And it is, I know now, I have been knowing this for some time, that Buddhism really is the worldview that resonates with me. I don't call it a philosophy or religion because Buddhism is none of those. It is a worldview. And I like that how it centers its meaning around the human being, not any kind of like God, you have to pay any price in order to redeem your sins, and so forth. So since I have been dwelling myself in these, not just the knowledge of Buddhism, but the experience, because the two goes hand in hand. Knowledge itself is not enough. You have to experience it. But then again, these are two like dualism, isn't it? Who is the experiencer and what is the experience, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
and that's where it comes in meditation, what you and I, we talked about before, that it gives you a different understanding of the true nature of life.
Right. So we're sort of looking, the two of us, as we talk, emerging organically is a view of a bridge that can get us across troubled water. And you're speaking of Buddhism, but it's a kind of Buddhism that is experientially grounded and deeply connected with reflection, but deeply grounded. And grounded in, I said the natural order, but also in a form of meditation that you're discovering. So tell us a little bit about your meditation experience.
Thank you for the question. It's a very interesting one. It is, I would say that my meditation practice is going towards something. It's not practicing, right? Because I'm heading towards one day enlightenment, maybe not this life, maybe another life, but that's totally okay. I practice samatha and vipassana meditation, or rather practice, I go towards. I have to just negate what I said before. And it really gives me a path that brings me back to the core. And it's really hard to verbalize some of these things, as you know, because it is truly experiential, and it is truly maybe not possible to verbalize everything.
Sure.
That's why I like being in it. And I'd like to actually tell you about a recent experience I had in Vipassana meditation.
Good.
I have been meditating throughout the whole day, and by the end of the day, I had this very profound experience that I haven't had before. The experience was that as I was concentrating on my breathing, obviously after some time, I started to not feel my body anymore. Rather, I just felt a being. And as I was breathing, I was feeling that I couldn't make a distinction that who is breathing out and who is breathing in. The experience started in a way that I was conscious about that as I was breathing out, the external was breathing in. And as the external was breathing out, I was breathing that in. But it came to a point, it was really a millisecond of understanding or experience where there was this duality became integrated into one. There was only one breathing. It wasn't just a happiness feeling, it was more than that I can't even describe. It wasn't the Georgie breathing, it wasn't the universe breathing, there was one breathing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's really close to the essence, and it's a momentary experience where you feel the breathing. You are the breathing.
Yes.
And even as we attempt to talk about it, it's very difficult. In fact, I want to invite people who are with us today in this conversation on our chat, if you would just write a few sentences about experiences you've had breathing that would help us. As you were talking, I was thinking about reality that the Earth herself had, we all know that there was a Pangea when all the continents were together. But what's not usually known is that this separating of the continents and the 7 continents and coming together has happened 4 times over a 4 billion year period, so far as we know. Yeah. So if you think about the Earth separating, breathing out and breathing in 4 times, takes 1 billion years to do a breath. Yeah, and just as you see, as you were describing that experience you had, I felt myself drifting into that breath.
Yes, it was such a feeling, such an experience that I want to go back to it, really. And that always brings me, and it really left a holographic strong imprint in my mind that I keep thinking about it all the time when I feel that I am disturbed by emotions, I am disturbed by the heat, I'm disturbed by anything, really. It really brings me back to that core, that really what is going on, all that is illusionary, it shall all pass. And I was speaking to a Buddhist Sangha member of mine, and we were talking about reincarnation. And as we were talking about reincarnation, we were viewing that how the cosmos reincarnates as well, how constellations come to a tipping point, and they die, and there is a new constellation emerging. So the micro and the macro goes through the same reincarnation effect as we do. And we try to find some symbolism to that, to really understand it even more with our dualistic mind. And we came to an image like a bag of rice. But in a bag of rice, there are the little rice grains, and every single grain is an experience of your past life events, feeling, thoughts, and they all compounded into this bag. And all that together, once you reincarnate, is poured into another bag, and it creates that whole of bag of rice that becomes another whale, another Georgie, in a different body, with a different name, and so forth. So I just wanted to share this with you as we are talking about all these really important things.
Oh, I love that imagery of a bag of rice. And if you take a bag of rice and submerge it in hot water, which is how rice is cooked sometimes, then just as you were talking, I was seeing the rice kind of meld together with other rice. And yet there's an identity of each kernel, but there's this also this merging, like you experienced in your day of meditation, where the kernel of rice that was Georgie began to loosen her boundaries and become something other than just little Georgie.
Yes. And also there are many times what I think of is that when I'm sitting in a lotus position and I'm breathing in, and I'm absolutely aware that every single particle of the air contains little droplets of holographic memories of all that has happened and all that is happening now, little droplets of water. And I'm imagining like a small little stream or a river that is my life, and that flows. And it is contained lots of millions of droplets of water particles. And once this life of Georgie is coming to stepping over to a different dimension, there's these little droplets will actually dissipate in the ether, and we come together in a different formation in a different river. So if this is my life, then this must be or could be the life of lots of other people. So as I'm breathing in all these little memories of everybody that has been left in the holographic field of the universe.
Yeah, definitely. And in that way, the eco field imprints and flows information through you.
Yes.
And to some extent or another, then you can utilize that information.
Yes. And I think why it is really important to talk about this, just to segue back what you were saying about the bridge effect, that how we cross the bridge, because I think we cannot achieve world peace and sustainable global community until one, i.e., the human being herself or himself, really understands what it is that who I am, right? And I think it is a progress, it is a process for sure, but we cannot accept these changes from our government, from our leaders, unless we actually be the change that we want to see in the world. So I think that's why I absolutely always concentrate on what I do and how I lead my life. So I'm an example. I can be an example to other people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And what you were talking about, one of our regular contributors, Vince Lopes, calls sustainable activities like not drinking out of straws or watching your plastic bags and so on. He calls that shallow ecology, not in a derogatory way, but that it's at the surface. And what you're talking about is what he calls depth ecology. That is ecology at the point of melding the kernels of rice together, so that there's this exchange, this deep exchange, and out of that melding can come specific actions. But if you try to do the environmental action or political action or building of a school or whatever without that deep connection, then it's not going to happen.
Exactly. I absolutely agree with that. So absolutely. If you don't understand why you recycle, then what's the next step really? You do need to understand the essence of it. And the essence is really the worldview and who are you in it, right? What part do you take in it really?
Yeah.
And not the individualistic approach that I'm the most important and who cares about the other. You can't live alone on this planet. Just imagine if it was only you with all these like gadgets around you and nobody's around. Is this what you want? That's not really the world. That's not how we evolve. That's not evolution. That's the wrong way of evolution.
Yeah. When you were talking about the conversation you had with someone at your Sangha and the bag of rice, it reminded me of a conversation I mentioned in an earlier episode. I was talking with my friend and mentor Berhard, and I was talking with him about David Baum's view of this subject that we're talking about, consciousness and its role with us as individuals. And David Baum says that if you view the ocean, and out of the ocean comes innumerable waves, and out of the wave comes froth on one wave. And out of that froth, there's one bubble. And that bubble is our universe. And Berhard and I were talking then about, well, who are we in the midst of this massive, rolling creation? And I just commented, I said, well, I don't know if I'm a bubble or a froth or a wave or whatever, but one thing I do know is I'm all wet. and so in some sense, that is enlightenment for a moment when you realize there's a consciousness of wetness underneath all of this, that is our essential nature.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do often, or maybe not often enough, that I look at the sky and really see the stars, that, you know, who I am in this whole big conundrum of that we call the universe. I am not important. At the same time, yes, I am important.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, I know you've got another meeting come up, but I want to conclude this part of our conversation by asking you a question. So you went to Bhutan and you had this exquisite encounter with suchness, I'll call it, and a sense of being. And then you come back to Budapest, and you're a citizen of the earth primarily, and yet you're living there. And I wonder how the integration of that great experience that you bring back to this place where you live is going. How's it going with you?
Well, what a deep question. Thank you for that. I thought about that so often. I am longing to return, and I'm longing to live there. But I thought about that I need to be here in order to make a difference here. Because in a sense, it would be easy to live there and really negate all the issues that's going on besides the limits of the Bhutanese borders. And I read somewhere that it's easy to polish a stone with a silk cloth. It's much harder with a rough file. And I think the rough file, that's what we need really to engage ourselves into how to lead by example. And I think that's what I need to do. Since I returned, I hope that I'm more compassionate and more aware of my intentions, my thoughts, the way I communicate with people, the way I live my life. And as long as I can keep popping back to Bhutan and really thrive on the energy of such amazing Shangri-La country, then it will give me some hope that I can make my little contribution to humankind.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And each aspect of our conversation has been like building a bridge that, unlike the one that fell down recently, has proper support to carry us across to a new era of consciousness.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Georgie. My heart.
Thank you very much. It's always an honor and pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, my heart opens to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All the very best to you and to everybody around you.
And yes, thank you, Georgie, for that. And I'm looking now at Heather Ash as we go from Budapest to wherever Heather Ash is in her airspace.
I am somewhere in Pennsylvania heading towards New Mexico from New York. So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and what a great conversation that you, Will, and Georgie had. It was really exquisite to listen, and to just reminded me that in the Peruvian culture, there's a word for people that are bridges that are called chacarunas. And Georgie and you, I mean, it was just so exquisite to feel that place of humans being bridges and choosing to stay in places that might be difficult. But, you know, Georgie's saying, I need to go back to my world and create a bridge.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I know you're in your airstream traveling across country, and if you just share with us some crossing of troubled waters that you've had in your life in recent times.
Yeah, it's, I've been in Woodstock for 3 months. I was in New York for a year or 2 months, and I didn't want to leave. Like I went through a big struggle over the last week because I had set my intent that I was going to move to Santa Fe, and yet I found myself being really disturbed and upset and not wanting to leave Woodstock. And so I've been in turmoil for about a week of what do I want to do? Do I want to stay here? Do I want to move to New Mexico? And getting really confused and frustrated with myself. And it's been really interesting to go towards how do I find the answer? And I just kept getting quiet. My mind would be like, you have to decide. It's like, I don't need to decide. I basically decided yesterday at midnight to leave. And I was packed, but I kept saying to myself, if you don't want to leave, you can stay. And it's fascinating. Yesterday I had my car wouldn't start. I lost my car key. I had to get it towed. Then we realized it was a really quick fix. And then the trailer didn't load properly. I had to go buy a new hitch. I mean, I had all these signs and I was like, are these signs that I shouldn't leave? Or are these signs that I'm not quite ready to go yet? So I ended up just going to a movie last night, finding a new hitch. And I was like, all right, I'll show back up at my trailer at midnight. I'll hook the hitch up. And if it works, I'll leave. If it doesn't work, that is the biggest sign that I should just stay for now, So it's been amazing. So I feel like now I have 5 days to get to Santa Fe, and I'm bridging and really feeling into the transition that I'm in right now, because it's obviously a much bigger transition than just where am I going to live. There's a big inner transition I'm in the middle of right now.
Wow, that is such a graphic description of so much that I struggle with. Judith and I were talking about getting on the bridge, and once you get on the bridge, like you're saying, well, do you go to the other side? Do you get a trailer hitch? Do you not get a trailer hitch? Do you stay here? Do you stay there? These are all tensions, and Judith was saying, well, yeah, she slipped and fell on the bridge and broke her hip, and so this is not a simply romantic trip we're on, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's really important for us to talk about that because, Instagram, Facebook, it looks easy, and it's not. The transition we're all in right now, broken hips, hitches that don't work, cars that don't start, and that's just like this much, right? We're all in big shift right now. The planet's in big shift. And we have to learn, for me, what we need now, the bridge that we need now is to be ready for anything. How do we show up and be open-hearted and listen deeply to what the messages are? And sometimes it's hard to tell. Is this an obstacle for me to get through, or is this a message telling me to stop? And it's only the deepest of listening that allows us to figure out which is which.
Right, and really that's the essence of the meditation that Georgie was mentioning. That is this deep listening in the tension between this aspect and that aspect inside of us, and knowing what is the way forward. And I want to come back to you later, Heather Ash, but I want now to shift over to Sheila Safer, whose home was flooded actually with troubled water a couple of years ago. And now we join her as she's actually in the troubled water that has become healing. So there's that paradox that we're going to experience with Sheila.
Hi everybody. I am so happy to be here. I'm Sheila Safer, and I'm talking to you today about the healing of properties of water, especially this beautiful water. So this is the Blanco River here in Wimberley in the Texas Hill Country. This is the same water that we walked out in waist-deep water in the flood of 2015. And here we are now in the same water, and it's healing waters. So I have had a frozen shoulder on my left shoulder, and I've been doing physical therapy for over a year now for the shoulder. And there was a time when I thought that I was not going to regain use of this, full use of this arm. So there was a time when all I could do was go up to here, and that's it, and out to here, and that's it. And over the past few months, I've made huge strides and progress with the water. So you can see now, I can go all the way out here. So this is so exciting, spreading my wings all the way out against the resistance of the water. It has been my best healer, my best exercise. And I'd like to say it's been my healing partner, because I think on the physical level, it's been helping me with my exercise and my range of motion, but more deeply than that, it's my relationship with water. So one of my Vision Quest names is Water Dancer. And in this, I'm dancing with the water. And I have an intimate relationship with the water. And when I get in the water, I ask for the water to heal me and to work with me so that I can move my arms all the way, and I can have, good range. And it's so exciting for me that I can do this. It looks like a very simple thing, but when you have a frozen shoulder, this is a dream come true right here. And the water has helped me to do that in such a graceful and easy way. Going against the resistance of the water is such a good exercise in both directions. So I go forward and backwards. And not only that, but it makes me happy to be in the water. And I think when you're happy, you heal more quickly. So on so many levels, this is healing waters for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And what a paradox that is, Heather Ash. The very troubled waters that flood your home and drive you out of your home become the source of healing. So what an interesting thing. And I want to invite all of you on the chat line. Thank you so much for your willingness to participate. And maybe you would add some comments about how troubled waters you've been in turn out to be healing waters. I'm going to say that again. Troubled waters that you've been in that may have destroyed some of your life later on turn out to be healing waters. Any comments about that, Heather Ash?
Yeah, so many comments about that. The biggest, as Will and Judith know intimately, and some of the people on here, because they were with me walking me through it, was a huge experience I had of the marriage that I was in breaking up, the community shifting, and how my life was so intertwined with this human, my teaching partner, my husband, my business partner, my travel partner. And that time in my life was really the most troubled water I'd ever navigated. And I didn't think I was going to survive. I honestly could not see how I was going to get through it. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she said to me, "You don't think you're going to get through this, do you?" And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And she said, "That's okay. I know you are, so you can lean into my faith. You can lean into my trust." And that's what I did. In that time, I just leaned into all my friends and let them help me to bridge, because I really didn't know how. And I think those times when the water is the deepest and we feel like we're going to drown, and we don't have any of the old resources that we used to lean into, is the most profound times, because that's the time we learn to swim. That's the time we realize that there's so much more to us than we thought. And I wouldn't change that experience, as difficult as it was. I wouldn't change any of it now, because it created who I am. And it made me love the depths and emotion and the beauty of community and of the power of healing.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, this profound paradox, and those of you on the chat who may want to join us in your chat, what have been some of your troubled waters that turned out, as I said a moment ago, turned out to be healing? And that's exactly on point. In fact, what we call chaos is we experience as chaos, but the question I might raise for us today is the chaos that we're going to see in the next panel with Karen Smith is the chaos itself seems to be necessary ferment out of which comes the fine wine of who we happen to be at a particular moment. So really, speaking of fine wine and fine art, I want to shift over to Karen Smith now as she shares with us a beautiful piece of art that she's created out of the ferment of our conversations and experiences. So here comes Karen. So now we move into the part of our bridge over troubled water to actually an experience at a very deep level as the wind comes in, joins us, helps us with this experience. So last fall, Karen Smith and others gathered in a conference to talk about moving across the bridge to a new era of Earth's life. And out of that came many wonderful creative urges. And Karen, if you tell us a little bit about how this came out through you, this creation.
Well, it came in stages, and finally, I feel like it came in a dream. So I'm calling it a dream for the future. This is an art quilt.
Yeah, okay.
That is that tells a story.
And Judith, I believe, called it
A story quilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the class, we talked about nonlinear time, and I'm representing that by the spirals at the top. We talked about how we are in a time of chaos, and we talked about the Hopi prophecy, which is here in the bottom area of the quilt. So it starts with the Hopi prophecy, and the Hopis say that we're going between the fourth world and the fifth world. And so I've represented the fourth world with this chaotic area that's disorganized, and but it's still some of the same fabrics that are represented in when we cross the bridge. It's represented in the Island of Coherence, which I've created with all kinds of different fabrics from different ethnicities. So it's taking us from the fourth world to the fifth world, and maybe the next world. I don't know. It's my dream.
So in your dream, I want to get this. This is the chaos of what we're going through right now, and it's increased since you created that.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Yes, this represents the chaos that we're all feeling. But nevertheless, we get on the bridge. We don't do like Einstein did. We don't run back.
Yeah.
We stay on the bridge. We persevere. There are goddesses along the way to help us. But we're led by Wild Heart, our white buffalo that we have at Deer Dancer Ranch. And we have the plants that we're taking with us. Dr. Will says that we'll know each other when we get to the new era by our relationship with water, which is represented here, and by our relationship to plants. So I've taken us across the bridge to the island of Coherence, and there are plants all around the island of all different kinds, a sunflower, a yucca, a big century plant, just all kinds of things that I just found some pleasure in making. But they're all created from the goddess, from the Great Mother. She's a little bit pregnant with plants in her belly, and they come up and start around the wheel. So Dr. Will and I have also talked about how this is a representation of the medicine wheel. When we laid this down at your house on the floor, it just happened that we were coming out of the east to get across the bridge. I think that's how it was. Is that right?
Yes.
So do you have questions?
Yeah, well, I'm just particularly taken by this journey that you talked about out of the chaos and these figures which represent all the people gathered in this online gathering.
Yes.
So everybody that's attracted to be with us this Saturday, in some sense, is being attracted to the bridge.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the chaos is the troubled water.
That's right. That's right. And under here, this in the Hopi prophecy, the way I understand it is these people up here, it's hard to see, but their heads are not attached to their bodies. So they're kind of, they don't know where they're going. And what's going to happen is they're on the path to chaos up here. It's represented by this jagged line. But right here is the turning point. This red line represents our red bridge. And so instead, we come down here and travel across this path of the plants and the Great Mother, so that we get to survive in some shape or form.
Yeah, and so I just want to keep coming back to this chaos because we don't know why, but it's a necessary variable, it seems, in the universe, that out of the soup, out of the quantum soup, out of the chaos, comes this vision, which is inspired by the Hopi prophecy and by the prophecy that Berahart and I and others had of coming up into this wheel, and there's a coming cross, and it's all emerging, and I love how you call this the island of coherence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that was just my first vision after the class of creating a path from chaos to coherence.
Right. Well, this is a beautiful, beautiful artistic creation, and it also gets at here that you pointed out that the heads are not attached to the bodies, and in the Hopi prophecy, that was their vision of our culture. And this was envisioned millennia ago.
Right.
Before we got into the internet, and we sure enough got disconnected from our bodies. And yet out of that is the possibility of coming up here and coming into
an era of the Divine Mother.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I think to finish this off, let's see if you and I can walk down here to the water.
Okay.
So as last month, we want to take this sacred water from fresh springs here at the Blue Hole, this beautiful Blue Hole, and feel this water is healing water for all of us and takes us across the bridge. So last week, I gave a little to Vince. Would you like for me to give a
I
little?
would love for you to give me some. Yay.
And then I'll take a little bit.
All right.
If you put some on there. And as we do that, and feel the wind blowing us, may all of you from all around the world feel the blessing of the water and the crossing of the bridge and the crossing of troubled waters.
The Spirit is in the land. We have come to walk with the Spirit. The Spirit is in the land. We have come to walk with the Spirit in the land. Send us a voice. Send us your voice. Send us your voice, Wonkan Tonka. The Spirit is in the land. We have come to walk with the Spirit in the land.
Oh,
Oh.
this is bringing us more and more into not just a thought process, but a deep experiential process in our gathering today of new citizens. In order to bring that even more to the center of our awareness, I want to invite our regular poet, Carol Flake Chapman, to express something of our depths in the crossing of these troubled waters.
I'm Carol Flake Chapman, and I'm going to read a poem today that I think fits in with our theme of making a bridge across troubled waters. The name of this poem is What We Are Missing. What are we missing as a people, as a culture, and maybe as a species, when there isn't enough hope to keep the mom of 4 in coal country from swallowing the opioids that will kill her, but will allow a 5-minute high and escape from a dead-end panic that finds and takes her anyway? What have we lost as a people, as a culture, and maybe as a species, when so many are armed, as though under siege, in the mall, on campus, even roaming church pews, as though hunters and hunted are the 2 poles of humanity, with no room for peace? What kind of emptiness have we left to our children as they flounder under debt and wonder how we squandered the trees, the rivers, the plants, the animals, the air, the oceans, the welcome to hungry strangers, the feeling of having enough, the places where we were in it all together as one? Must it all unravel before we take up the threads to reweave the web of life? Must it all fall apart before we can build again in a way that won't crash and burn? Must we hit rock bottom before we can make it to the mountaintop or across the bridge for a glimpse of the promised land?
Yes, and thank you for that, Carol. And I just want to come back to the chat for the moment and thank all of you who've been willing to join in today. And I want to quote, read aloud Ruthie Airy's comment about both Carol and Karen. Art is a shine of your being's process. I'll say that again. Art is a shine of your being's process. I feel so touched with your spirit love. So we're coming to the close of our time today, and before we do close, let's see if Heather Ash, if you have any closing comments for us.
I want to share my Airstream with you guys. So closing comments is trust. This is everything I own. And to remember both that you are a bridge for other people. The more that you share your vulnerability and your truth and your authenticity, the more that you'll help support other people in finding theirs. And that when you're crossing troubled water, find the bridges, find the other humans, the plants, the trees, the animals that can help bridge you across. We're all just holding hands out. I love this quote. I can't remember if Ram Dass said it or somebody, but we're all just walking each other home.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to being with you, and it won't be too long until we go to Teotihuacan.
Yes, very soon.
Okay. All right. So next month, I believe on October the 6th, I believe it is, we'll be taking this whole sense of finding the messages that show us the way in the midst of the turbulence. We'll be taking it to a different order. So our theme next month will be coded messages of the stones, of the rocks. Coded messages of the stones, of the rocks. So, good day from Earth citizens to Earth citizens, and Judith will close us with a song.
Well, thank you, Will, and thank you everybody on this call. It's just been really enlightening and wonderful, and Georgie's words are so profound, and Heather Ash's beauty is so beautiful in her Airstream. That takes a lot of courage to go across country in an Airstream. So we'll keep you in our hearts and minds. Okay, so I'm going to sing, as you might imagine. May your peace be an anchor in stormy times. May your hope run like a river that will never run dry. May your burdens grow light. May your worries subside. This is my prayer for you. May your soul grow deep. May your joy run wild. May your heart know the place of mercy and smile. May your faith come to let you believe like a child. This is my prayer for you. This is my prayer for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.